me out of the grave. You called me into the light. You called my name and then my heart came alive. Your love is greater. Your love is stronger. Your love awakens, awakens, awakens me. Your love is greater. Your love is stronger. Your love awakens, awakens, awakens me. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
it's perfect because our kids are coming up to share with us this morning. So, oh, I'm sorry. I thought that they were maybe singing, but I am wrong. Maybe not.
They're just going to dance and sing with us.
Yeah, they just look so cute. Okay. Sorry, kiddos. Well, we're going to continue to worship. Did you need something? Okay. So as we continue to worship, this is perfect because I was thinking on my way this morning that there's all these things that we do every week, and we sometimes take them for granted. Whether it's cooking a meal for our family or making our beds each morning, driving to work, we take a lot of things for granted every day. And I read something this week, and I think it was inspired by what happened in Las Vegas. But one of my friends posted, and she said, don't take for granted the things that you get to do every day. Because not everyone has what you have, and not everyone can do what you get to do. We all have different gifts, and I think sometimes it's easy for us to think that what we can offer to others is not enough, that our gifts aren't as meaningful as others, but God created each of us in our own unique way with a special gift to share. And I invite you to remember that this week, because those things that you do that seem small or you think are invisible and no one's paying attention, they're huge in God's eyes. So everything you do this week, do with a happy heart and know that God's smiling down on you. All those things that are boring and repetitive, He granted you the ability to do it for a reason. So don't take it for granted. So as we sing together today and we worship and we give thanks for this amazing community that has come together, let's keep that in mind, to not take for granted the things we get to do every day because of Him.
You got me out upon the waters, the great unknown, where feet may fail. Never find you in the mystery, an ocean's deep, my faith will stand. And I will call upon
that we say and that we sing in this next part, Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders, that's exactly what she has given us the ability to do here at iFire. We all were hitting this wall in our faith. We all didn't know what to do next to grow and to bring people closer. And then she came in and she said, you're really good at this and you're really amazing at this, and why don't you try this? And it just took one person to change everything. This community of people, we are all here today because of her, because she knew that we were not stepping over that border. Whatever was holding us back, she said, come on, let's go together. We're going to step over this border and bring new people in. And that's exactly what we have done and what we will continue to do. So we're going to sing these words and honor her and give thanks to her. So if you could all stand and sing this with us. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me, and take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith would be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me, and take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of Sing it one more time. Lift your voices up to the Lord. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me, and take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith would be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. And I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours, and you are mine. Let us pray. We come here this day, Lord, remembering to not take for granted the things that we get to do every day because of you. And also on this day, we need to remember to not take for granted those people in our life that push us closer to you and bring out the gifts that we forgot we had. So today, especially, we remember and we thank Pastor Vicky for her leadership, for her guidance, and for her belief in every single one of us, and our gifts that sometimes we think aren't as important as others. She makes them feel so huge. So we give thanks for leaders like her who continue to draw us closer to you and to draw people in to further your kingdom. We know that you have such an amazing plan for this community of people, Lord, and help us to realize that each day as we move forward and as we perform those daily routines. Help us to do it with you in our heart. We love you and we thank you. And now we join together in the prayer that your Son taught us to pray, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins, as we forgive those who sin against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Amen. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Shane Russo. I'm the Connections Coordinator here at Girard First UMC, and we have a few videos for you this morning, so I will be brief. But the one thing I want to say that's not in the video is that we need help down in Commotion. We need teachers, we need shepherds, we need all of that. This church is predicated on family. We say faith, family, fun, right? Yeah, well, if you really believe that, then you get all three of those things in Commotion. So help out. And those of you who have been helping, thank you very much. I also wanted to second what Alyssa said about Pastor Vicky. You know, a good leader is out front, they say, that's out front leading the charge. And the only reason why Pastor Vicky's really out front is so she can drag some of us kicking and screaming, but she's out there. So I appreciate that. And most of the time it's me. Most of the time she's dragging me. Cindy, are you gonna talk about that? It's in the video. Okay, I wanted. So first, Cindy Williams asked me a couple weeks ago to make a video for Pastor Appreciation Sunday. It was a nice surprise for Pastor Vicky at the 9:30 service. She didn't know it was coming, so she's already seen this. But I wanted the congregation to see. A lot of you told me reasons why you appreciate Pastor Vicky, and I incorporated some of them into the video. And so go ahead and play that now.
Hey, Pastor Vicky, and happy Pastor Appreciation Sunday. I just wanted to thank you for everything you've done for me and for my family. We wouldn't be going to church if it wasn't for you. I wouldn't have come this far in my faith if it wasn't for you. Let me just say, I have not found anybody that lives up to the bar that you've set. So I hope you enjoy your day. I miss you, I love you, and I'll see you soon.
You got a friend in me. You've got a friend in me. When the road looks rough ahead and you're miles and miles from your nice warm bed, you just remember what your old pal said. Yeah, you've got a friend in me. Baby, you've got a friend in me. You got a pal in me, and you've got a friend in me. You got your troubles, well, I got them too. There isn't anything I wouldn't do for you. We stick together and see it through, 'cause you got a friend in me. Darling, you've got a friend in me. Now some of the boys might be a little smarter than I am, or bigger and stronger too, maybe, but none of them is ever gonna love you the way I do. Oh, it's me and you, Lou, and as the years go by, our friendship will never die. You're gonna see it's a destiny, 'cause you've got a friend in me. My baby, you've got a friend in me. Now some of the boys might be a little smarter than I am, bigger and stronger too, maybe. None of them is ever gonna love you the way I do, 'cause it's me and you. And as the years go by, our love will never die. You're gonna see it's our destiny. You got a friend in me. Baby, you've got a friend in me. You, me, and me. You got a friend in me. My darling, you got a friend in me.
Taking a point of personal privilege here, I'd like to thank Pastor Vicki for all the support and the guidance that she's given us to develop our kids program, and we'd like to present her with a little card that the kids made for her just to show our love.
Have we ever told you that you're our favorite? For all of you who knows, that usually accompanies a request I have for you to do something. So thank you very much. Thank you guys. That was wonderful.
Your offerings continue to impact the people and ministries of this church, and here's just another example of how your offerings are touching lives. You can text to give or give online by going to ifiregerard.com and clicking on Give. Or you can drop your Connect card with your offering in the metal kiosk on the way out. We all know how stressful the holidays can be, and we used to try and help alleviate some of that suffering in our community by doing a food drive with IGA. Well, as you know, IGA is closed now, so what are we gonna do? The Emmanuel Care Center used to rely on those food donations from that food drive a lot during the holidays to help the people in our community. So you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna take matters into our own hands. So every Sunday between now and the Sunday before Thanksgiving, we are going to collect food ourselves. We are doing our own food drive. I am challenging every single family in this church to fill a bag for the Emmanuel Care Center. Now, if you're single and you don't think you can fill an entire bag on your own, then team up with someone. If you're struggling yourself, then do a little bit at a time. You have 6 weeks to fill that bag. Once you have filled your bag, you can leave it in Wesley Hall with the others. Just look for the sign. Let's make this one of the biggest food drives this community has ever seen. The Emmanuel Care Center needs us. The community needs us. Now let's do something about that. Don't forget to follow iFire Gerard on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to stay connected throughout the week, and on YouTube to see all of our videos, including this one.
I don't know how many videos we had today, so they didn't tell me. They sprang all this on me. Let me just start by saying thank you so much. It is indeed an honor and a privilege to be your pastor. It is the greatest joy of my life to be able to help you come one step closer as I am in the process of coming one step closer myself. And to be able to lead this community, the folks who stepped out and took a risk to do something new, we owe a lot to them. To be willing to do that, and for all of you who are a part of those decisions, thank you so much. I do hope that what you find here you're willing to help share with others around you and invite them to come and be a part as well as we are making community together. And it's just an honor and a privilege to lead that community. And so thank you very much. You may not know, but you got me flowers. So I think the early service, the best line was, we have Pastor Appreciation in October because there are a lot of witches around. Wasn't quite sure how to take that. I think I know exactly how they meant that, but you know, the best line of the day. So thank you so much for honoring me. It's a joy to be able to be with you. So we are going to start a new series today called I Have a Friend Who. And if you have something that you want to hear about either for this series or for another one, on the back of your Connect card, if there's a topic you'd like to hear about, please write it out. If at all possible, we'll deal with it in this series, and if it doesn't fit, we'll find another one where it will. because one of my greatest honors to be able to listen for God's word that God has for us as a community together and be able to bring that on Sunday morning. And I would love to know what it is that is working in your heart, what you'd like to do to be able to make a difference for that. So if you write that on the back of your Connect card when you turn it in the metal kiosk in the back, I take those seriously, and you will hear those themes in the messages to come. Today we're going to start with one, and we're going to build on this, so it would be much more interesting if you're here for all of them. We're going to set some foundation today, and we're going to keep building on it. Today we're going to talk about, I have a friend who struggles with balancing life's demands. I have a friend who's struggling with balancing life's demands. And again, the things we're going to talk about today, we're going to continue to build on in the rest of this series. And we're going to talk about some really good ones. I have a friend who struggles with depression and anxiety. I have a friend who has ugly kids. No, we're not going to do that one. But, you know, different things like that that people are facing that you already went out around on Facebook, and these were the things people said. I have a friend who's grieving. I have a friend that's been hurt by the church. How do I help them? And so we're going to start today with, I have a friend who's struggling to balance life's demands. Well, we indeed are a nation of overstressed adults raising overscheduled children. And it is a problem that faces most of us, many of us, maybe even all of us to some degree. How is it that we balance everything that life demands of us? Well, I'm going to give you the punchline right up front. We don't. Balance is a myth. The idea that we can have the perfect body and the perfect house and the perfect income and the perfect kids and the perfect husband and the perfect wife and the perfect relationship with our parents and everybody has equal amount of time. Everybody has equal amount of emotional energy. Your boss is happy because you've spent an equal amount of time on your job. The fact that we even use the word balance, it's a myth. Balance doesn't exist. What exists is choice. What exists is choice. If you think about it, we have so many more opportunities today, especially kids today. When I was a kid, you know what choices we had? You're going to play inside or outside. And if it wasn't raining, mom made the choice for you, you're going outside. All right? When you got outside, you had one of three choices: football, baseball, or bikes. We lived out in the country, and we lived on an acre, and most of the acre was in front of our house. Our neighbors were our cousins, and they had a side yard that was about an acre, so we turned it into a ball diamond. And when the cousins got big enough to go off into high school and play football, then they wanted to play football. And they didn't care that we were 4 years younger than them and half their size. It was tackle football. Okay, so guess who learned to catch a spiral? Yes. Or play third base. You know, now I get that joke. Who sent that to me? That was terrible. Somebody sent me a joke after that from the first service. I just got it. Shame on whoever sent that. It was hilarious, but shame on you. All I say is it had something to do with third base, okay? That's all I'm saying. So anyhow, we had very few choices of what we were going to do. We were going to ride our bikes, we were going to play baseball, we were going to play football. And so we just didn't have all these things that we could possibly get involved in. You know, well, we've got to learn the oboe, and then we've got to play the piano, and we've got to be able to sing, and we've got to be able to play football. We've got to be able to run track, and oh my goodness. You have that mom, you know, that kind of half complains, half brags, frustrated and yet proud. Oh, I had to drag this huge trophy home in my car that my kid won at the track meet, right? You know, just so frustrated, and yet it's kind of half a brag, you know. We're so busy, and yet we're still kind of proud of being busy. We have all these things that just want our time, but we can't possibly balance them all. Balance is a myth. If somebody's trying to balance them, they're probably the ones that are struggling. The ones who are trying to balance are probably the ones who are trying to struggle. They've actually shown that if you're going to demo a product that you have, say you have 9 different options, don't put out 9 different options. put out 3, maybe 4. Because if you put out 9 different options, your sales will go down because people can't choose. There's too many options. You've turned it into something stressful to choose between 9 different things. But if you put out 3 or 4 options, you know how when you go to Sam's for lunch, for demo day, just put out 1 or 2 options because your sales will go up. Or maybe 3 or 4 because you've narrowed down the choices that people will have, and therefore they're more likely to be able to make a decision. We think we've got to put all 9 options out on the table and say, okay, choose which 6 of them we're going to do. We can't possibly do that. Here's a couple choices. What is it that we're going to do? Because balance is a myth. If I could just give you some time management skills, I'd be happy to do that. We'd all win and get to go home. I'd give you your little planner. We could show you the app, and then we all get to go home happy again, right? Balance, unfortunately, is a myth. And we're not choosing between good and bad. We choose between good and better, not just good and bad. There's a scripture that talks about this that, believe it or not, even though it was 2,000 years ago, it speaks directly to this, and I really think it can help us for ourselves when we struggle with balancing life and with our friends who struggle to balance life's demands. It's from Ephesians chapter 5, verse 15 to 17. It goes like this. Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is. Be careful how it is that you live. Be intentional about how it is that you live. I would love to tell you that you can just go with the flow, skate through life with whatever happens, and you're going to be at the end of your life with a hugely meaningful life. Guess what? Not going to happen. Be very careful how you live. Be intentional about how you live. Now, there are a whole lot of folks who don't want this to happen. Because when you're not intentional and you're not careful with how you schedule and what your priorities are, you are so much more easy to manipulate. Understressed people don't overeat. Understressed people don't overdrink. Understressed people don't overspend. Understressed people don't eat at McDonald's. Who woke up this morning going, man, after church, I want to go see the clown. I want to go through McDonald's. Unless you're 5 and not scared of clowns, it probably wasn't you. Understressed people don't go to McDonald's. What happens? Oh, I've had a bad day. A long day. My boss yelled at me. The kids were crying. I'm not going to cook. I'm just going to go through McDonald's. There's a whole lot of folks who don't want you to get this because it's how we spend our money more. It's how they make their money more. It's how we are manipulated more. This will help. This will help. This will help relieve that stress because you're trying to balance it all. It says, be wise. Do not live as unwise, but as wise. You see, it's not just right or wrong. It's not even just good or better. It's wise or unwise. Why? Well, I call this the gas gauge. God invented this glorious thing called a readout for our gas gauge. Now, you remember in the olden days when all we had was a light that came on when the gas got down to under a quarter of a tank and this light came on? Well, guess what? You could go 30 more miles when that light came on. You could go 30. How do I know? Because I do. You can go 30 more miles when that thing came on. You could make sure your husband was in the car at some point in time, so he had to pump the gas. You had 30 miles to be able to do that. But now we have a gauge, a digital readout. We can know down to the mile how much further we have to go before we have to get gas. And guess what? You can even go 5 miles beyond that. How do I know? Because there was one day I was driving down I-71 in Columbus. If I had been wrong about this, I wouldn't be here today to talk about it. But it gets down to where the digital readout says 0, but that's okay. I'm almost at the exit. I pull off the exit and I think to myself, I know it's turned 0, but it's 5 cents cheaper down in Sunbury, which is 5 miles away. I bet I can make it. And I did. It was the worst thing ever. Don't let me know that. You see, that's what happens when we say, well, is it good or bad? Because none of us go, I'm going to get a tank of gas when it's only half full or half empty. No. What do? We don't say, how good can I be? We say, how good do I have to be to not be bad? Where's the line? And you know what our culture's great at doing? When we step over the line, then they mock us. Oh, you drink too much, you embarrass us. Oh, you eat too much, you embarrass us. Oh, you're in debt and you lost your house. How embarrassing. We'll make sure we talk about you at our next meeting. You see, push right up to the line. And then when somebody gets the gambling problem or the alcohol problem or the overeating in your jeans problem, then we have somebody we can talk about. It's not just good or bad. Is this wise? Is this wise? Live as wise people. Live as wise people. Not just right, but is it wise? Verse 16 says, make the most of every opportunity because the days are evil. What in the world does this mean? We just talked about that we have way too many opportunities. Well, let me use a different translation. Different translation says this: redeem the time. Redeem the time. It's a financial transaction. Like you go to the store and you redeem a coupon. You buy something, you pay for something, you buy something back. What is it saying? Is treat your time like currency. Don't just waste it. Don't even just spend it. Invest it. Invest it in something that's going to end you up where you want to be in your future. One of my friends put out on Facebook, she asked a question. She said, how much have you spent on vacation on average? And I happened to call her. I said, Jess, why are you asking this question on Facebook? And by the way, what was the answer? She says, well, from what people responded, I can tell that on average they spend about $5,000 a year on vacation. I said, I want to go on vacation with them. I just get to go to Kentucky and see an eclipse. Because it was free, except for the gas. So I said, why did you ask? She said, you know what? For this reason. She said, Vanessa and I are building a house, and we're calling it our vacation home. Because for the last 10 years, we haven't gone on vacation and spent $5,000 a year on vacation. But we're building our vacation home because we want to go there every night after work. We've worked long and hard to build this business. We've worked long and hard to be where we are. And we made sacrifices that other people didn't make. But as a result of it, we get to have a house that is our vacation home that we get to come home to every night because of the choices that we made. Not just is it good or bad. No one's going to say vacation's bad. It's just, is it wise? Is it wise? Is this going to get you where you want to go in the future if you spend your time this way? If you saw your time as currency, limited and valuable, would you spend it this way? unlimited and valuable? Is this how you would spend it if it were currency? If you lived with my husband, the answer would be no, because he doesn't spend money on anything. Right? Except me, of course. Well, okay, that's a lie. This is verse 17. Oh, well, let's go back to one other. The days are evil, because the days are evil. Now, you know what? We don't usually talk like that. We don't go, the days are evil. God bless you. Please don't do that, especially on Facebook. I don't know why everybody's like, oh, the joy of the Lord is our strength. You're an idiot. I don't know why we do that. We think that both those are going to end up where we want to be. I'm not sure why. The days are evil. What does that mean? I think it means this. If you go with the flow, if you just go downstream, you're not going to end up where you want to go. The culture is not going to take you a place that you're going to want to be if you don't swim upstream. I think that's what it means by the days are evil. Make the most of every opportunity. Redeem the time. Treat it as valuable. Treat it as limited. Treat it as currency. Invest it, because if you just go with the flow of what everybody else is trying to get you to do, you're going to end up someplace you don't want to be. You're going to end up someplace you don't want to be in the future. Redeem the time, because the days are evil. We get a choice. I know what it feels like. I know it feels like our busy schedule dictates to us. But that's a lie. There are things that we have to do that we don't want to do. That is true. You have to have Thanksgiving dinner at your parents' house, your in-laws' house. And you have to fight about it. You have to fight about where do you go, who do you go to first. Don't eat too much at one because you have the other. Yeah, but her turkey stinks and this one doesn't. Whatever. That's all drama I can't save you from. However, I can speak truth to you and say that it is a myth that you don't have control over your schedule. We have a choice. And a meaningful life means that we make those choices. Not just between good and bad. Not even between good and best. Between best and wise. Is this wise? Is this wise? Verse 17. Don't act thoughtlessly. Don't be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is. This even takes it one step further. And simply ask, not even is it wise, but ask this, is it your calling? Is it your calling? There is something unique in this world that God has called you to do. There is somebody unique that God has called you to be. Does this fit with it? It's an automatic yes. And if it doesn't fit with it, it's an automatic no. If God has not called you to be a parent, then you don't need to explain to anybody else why you don't have children. If God has called you to be a parent, then you don't have to explain to anybody else why you have a litter of kids. It's your calling. And raising those children when you're called to be that parent is what you need to do and who you need to be. If it helps you do that, yes. And if it doesn't help you do that, no. God's called us to be people of faith. It's not, am I too tired to go to church? Is there anything else going on? It's God has called me to be a person of faith in this world. So the answer is yes. I'm going to find a community to worship with and serve with. So that when all my other friends are posting on Facebook about how they don't know what to do in light of the shooting that happened in Vegas, we can be the light of hope. So that when other people are saying, I don't know what I'm going to do if I lose my job, we're the ones who are saying, we have hope. When the phone rings and it's the doctor saying, I need you to come back in, people who have hope. And the only way that we do that in the middle of the trenches is if we understand our calling and we make decisions according to that. It's not a matter of if I'm going to go to church. Is there anything that's going to stop me from going? Because this is what I'm called to. This is who I'm called to be. It's who I'm called to be. So that I can be the beacon of hope when people have no hope. I can be the voice of reason when everybody else is losing their minds. I can be the one to say, I love you and I care about you, even when nobody else will. Who has God called you to be? What has God called you to do? The problem is we end up trying to make those choices exactly when we're least able to do it. That's why we go to McDonald's. You know the worst possible time to decide what to have for dinner is? When you're tired and probably a little angry, frustrated, and hungry. And so what do we say? I know I want my kids to have free-range organic chicken and organic vegetables, and I'm just going to go through McDonald's. The worst possible time. But when we say, I know who I'm called to be, it's an automatic yes or an automatic no, then we don't have to engage our brains at the very time that our brains are screaming for McDonald's. Now, there's nothing wrong with McDonald's. I'm not ripping on you if you take your kids there or you go there yourself. I'm saying, redeem the time. Because if we just go with the flow, we're going to end up someplace we don't want to be. For your friend that's struggling, for you who struggles, me when I struggle, what's your calling? You don't owe anybody else any other explanation when you're living according to your calling. Maybe your kids are involved in that, maybe they're not. It's what's your calling. Don't trade your future for someone or something that's not even going to be there in your future. I spent my summer binge watching Blacklist. I can guarantee at the end of my life, I'm not going to look back and say, man, I wish I'd have watched one more episode. I'm pretty sure that when the word binge watch ends up in the sentence, you're avoiding rather than living something. You're trying not to choose rather than to choose something. Don't spend your currency, your time, on someone or something that isn't even going to be in your future. In light of what you're called to do and who you're called to be, what's the wise thing to do? Now, why is this important? I'm not here to give you a guilt trip. I'm simply here to say, most of the enduring experiences of life cannot be had at the pace we're currently running. Most of the eternal things that we are here on this earth to discover, God would have to literally shout at us for us to hear because of the pace that we're running, because of the priorities, because of our schedule. The rich relationships that God's intended for us to have, can you have them at this pace? Can you come one step closer to God with this schedule at this pace, with these priorities? Can you know the heart of a 10-year-old at this pace, with this schedule, with these priorities? Those experiences of enduring value happen slowly. They happen slowly. as our speed increases, the health of our soul decreases. I'd love to be able to tell you that it can happen some other way. But we've got 2,000 years of history that tells us otherwise. And we wonder, what's wrong with us? There's nothing wrong with you. It's your pace that's sucking the life out of your soul or your friend's soul. Scripture says that we will feel like springs of living water. Is that how you feel? Or is it dry and barren? Can your soul even respond to God throughout the day when he nudges us? Or would he have to shout to get our attention? I submit that we recover the concept of the pub. I'll let everybody inhale the oxygen out of the room and say that again. Let's recover the concept of the pub. That neighborhood place where you go after work before you head home for the chaos. That place where you go on Friday night with your friends to laugh. That place where, like C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien, you sit down at lunch over a pint and a cigar and you talk theology and the deep things of God. Now, that may or may not be a pub for you, but maybe it's going to the gym after work so you are centered before you get home with the kids. Maybe it's Connections Cafe here, where you sit around with a small group and talk about the deep things of God. Maybe it's just going out to a restaurant on Friday night with your friends and having a meal so you can laugh. Or even though you didn't dust, inviting them over for dinner so you could recover what it means to be face to face with people. Find those enduring values that happen slowly. How can you build the pub back into your life? How do you find those places where we can just slow down and be together? I'd love to have people over at my house. Now, I'll warn you, it's a bit cluttered, and you're going to get white paper plates and white napkins. I'm not going to have all the colored stuff that says, ooh, you know, have a great day, it's Thanksgiving, it's Christmas, it's Easter. That's for people who are much better at that than I am. But we'll laugh, and we'll have fun, and we'll share. Just to spend time together. It's open to every single one of you to come to my house for that. As long as it doesn't need to be uncluttered, and as long as it doesn't have to have colored napkins and fancy paper plates. Let's recover what it means to have life unfold slowly so that we can be open to the eternal, and whatever that means. Whatever that means. I want to pray with you this morning because it's really hard to convince folks that the schedule that you used to control now controls you. It's really hard to admit that we've been swimming downstream so long we've ended up someplace we don't want to be. And yes, we've got drama that we can't do anything about. But the part that we can, I want to pray with you to find the grace that we need to make the choices. Not just good and bad, and not even just good or better, but is this wise according to my call? Who I am and what I'm supposed to do. God will give us the grace we need to make those decisions and be intentional about it. Because what we're going to find is those experiences of enduring value become a spring of living water flowing up within us. And we have enough energy for the day because we're living at the pace of our soul. We're living at the pace of our soul and listening for what God has to say. Let's pray. God, I want to thank you for every person here, for the friendships that you've given us, for the chance that we have, that we can walk with you. And God, some of us spent the summer binge watching Blacklist instead of listening. And some of us spent the summer running so fast that you would have had to yell for us to hear. But what we're saying, God, is that we would rather know the springs of living water. We would rather have those experiences of enduring value, of eternal value. We'd rather have a few deep relationships than a busy schedule. Would you help us make those choices? Not when we're tired and angry and lonely and hungry, but today. That we will listen for your pace and your voice. We will listen to our soul. That we will be who you've created us to be. And for that we will give you thanks. In the name of Christ we pray. Amen.
There are days I've taken more than I can give, and there are choices that I made that I wouldn't make again. I've had my share of laughter, of tears and troubled times. This has been the story of my life. I have won and I have lost. I got it right sometimes, but sometimes I did not. Life's been a journey. I've seen joy, I've seen regret. Oh, and you have been my God through all of it. You were there when it all came down on me, when I was blinded by my fear and I struggled to believe. But in those unclear moments, you were the one keeping me strong. This is how my story's always gone. I have won and I have lost. I got it right sometimes, but sometimes I did not. Life's been a journey. I've seen joy, I've seen regret. Oh, and you have been my God through all of it. Through all of it. And this is who you are, more constant than the stars up in the sky. All these years of my life, I look back and I see you. Right now I still do, and I'm always going to. I have won and I have lost. I got it right sometimes, but sometimes I did not. Life's been a journey. I've seen joy, I've seen regret. Oh, and you have been my God through all of it. Oh, you have been my God through all of it. Oh, you have been my God through all of it.
If you'd like to be part of our final blessing, please stand up. I want you to take a second and look around you. This sermon series is called I Have a Friend Who. Well, a lot of you have a friend who did not get to hear that message this morning because they're not here. I don't want anybody to feel bad for not showing up to church, but I want them to know about this church. I want them to be so excited they can't imagine being anywhere else on a Sunday morning. So if you have a friend who's not here today, this week, your charge is to contact that person. Call them, go to their house, stalk them on Facebook. I don't care. Get them here. This is important, people. This is important. Now, I want you to go out and be Jesus to somebody this week and be Jesus to somebody in this room. Stick around for 5 minutes and just talk to somebody. Amen.